have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments. Even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, it is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, that is Krishna Prema. Hare Krishna. I once again welcome all of you to this Bhakti Sangha Java conference call. Vancha Kalpadrupasha Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. So before moving on to the call, let me know who are all present on the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from College Station, Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavas on the call. Vasundhara Devi Dasi from Bangalore, India. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vasundhara Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vasudha Mataji. Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kumudiki Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, and please accept my humble obeisances unto you and all the Vaishnava devotees here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Eka Radhika Leela Devidasi from Iowa, United States.
Hare Krishna, Eka Radhika Leela Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my obeisance. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. This is Sri Sapanishad from Ohio. Debo.
Hare Krishna, Sri Isho Upanishad Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Maharaj, all glories to Assembly. This is Mohini Lakshmi Pandita.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Rani.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We are having the introduction now, Mataji. For Prabhuji today.
Sure, Mataji. I'll start.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much once again for joining this Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call for the Bhagavatam session. Now we will be moving on to our next session. Before moving to the next session, I would like to ask Tiffany Mataji to give brief introduction about his grace. Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving us your association with your sweet smile on your face. Hari Bol. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Excuse me, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This morning, we have the pleasure of having His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji with us. Prabhuji is a monk, a mentor, and a spiritual author. He has been educated in electronics and telecommunications engineering from the Government College of Engineering in Pune. He subsequently served as a software engineer in a prominent multinational software corporation. Prabhuji, seeing the prevalent problems of stress and depression and addiction and overall misdirection, all due to the lack of spirituality, he felt inspired to dedicate his life to the cause of sharing the spiritual wisdom of Bhagavad Gita with youth. He travels all over the world from Australia to America, giving talks on spiritual subjects in universities such as Princeton and Cambridge, and companies such as Intel and Microsoft. Prabhuji is the author of the world's only Gita Daily feature, wherein he writes a daily 300-word inspirational reflection on a verse from Bhagavad Gita. As of now, he has written over 1,700 Gita meditations that are posted on www.gitadaily.com and are read through daily feeds by thousands from all over the world. He also answers questions by seekers on his site, thespiritualscientist.com, where his over 3,500 audio answers and several hundred articles are available. His articles have been published in many national newspapers, including Indian Express, Economic Times, and the Times of India in the Speaking Tree column. His writings in English have been translated into several foreign languages and several Indian languages. He is a member of the ISKCON's leading intellectual body, the Shastric Advisory Council, and is the associate editor of ISKCON's global magazine, Back to Godhead. Prabhuji has also authored 16 books, and again, we're so fortunate to have him with us on the call today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Thank you so much for gracefully reading Prabhuji's introduction. Hari Bol. Thank you for your association once again, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I think Prabhuji has not joined. So that was a brief introduction about Prabhuji, which Mataji has given. So let's chant till Prabhuji joins.
Mataji, we have announcement. We have Bhagavad Gita recital on Gita, Advent of Gita. That is 22 December. It's Friday. Yeah, Prabhuji came. We will do at the end this announcement.
Okay. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I once again welcome for this Bhakti Sangha Java conference call. So today we will be moving on to our next session, which will be given by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji from Srimad Bhagavatam. The verses will be from Canto 7, 3rd chapter and 11th verse. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving us your valuable time and association this morning. And we are looking forward for your enlightening class on Srimad Bhagavatam, which you totally give us in a different perspective. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Happy to be here back. So
it's been a long time.
I'm just joining from my other device.
Yeah.
Can you start reading the words, because I want to have my tablet also.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yeah, sure. Mataji, please share the verse and we can read it, Mataji. Indu Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, do you want to read?
You can read, Mataji.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 3, Text 11. Anyatedam vidhasyeham ayata purvam ojasa kim anye kala nirdhutai kalpante vaishnava dhibhi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By dint of my severe austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. I shall overturn all the established practices within this world. Even Dhruva will be vanquished at the end of the millennium. Therefore, what is the use of it? I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. Purport. Hiranyakashipu's demoniac determination was explained to Lord Brahma by the demigods, who informed him that Hiranyakashipu wanted to overturn all the established principles. After executing severe austerities, People within this material world are promoted to the heavenly planets, but Hiranyakashipu wanted them to be unhappy, suffering because of the diplomatic feelings of demigods, even in the heavenly planet. He wanted those who were harassed in this world by material transactions to be unhappy for the same reasons, even in the heavenly planet. Indeed, he wanted to introduce such harassments everywhere. One might ask how this would be possible, since the universal order has been established since time immemorial. But Hiranyakashipu was proud to declare that he would be able to do everything by the power of his tapasya. He even wanted to make the Vaishnava's position insecure. These are some of the symptoms of asuric determination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji, thank you so much for reading the verse translation and purport with so much enthusiasm. It was like with all expression you had read the translation and purport. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji, once again, please welcome to the call. And we really missed you for such a long time. Thank you so much for giving us your association. Hare Krishna, please take over, Prabhuji.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। I was in Australia for a couple of months, so the time zones were not suitable for me to do the class. I just came back about a week ago to India. Happy to be here with all of you now. And here, in the 7th chapter, 7th canto, 3rd chapter, we are having Hiranyakashipu express his demoniac determination. So let's try to understand Hiranyakashipu, what is he saying, and that's the broad topic of today's discussion. So I'll talk about this in three broad parts. First is his mentality. We'll try to understand what his mentality is. Then I'll talk about how that mentality or similar mentality is present today. And then lastly, we'll talk about the cure for that mentality. So what exactly has happened over here? Hiranyakashipu is making his plan to gain immense power. Now, in one sense, everybody wants power in life. We want power so that we can at one level power our devices. We want power so that we can get things done. We want power so that we can persuade others. So now, in one sense, seeking power, that is universal. Now, we may say he's also planning what? Austerity to gain power. Now, this is an interesting principle. This requires some wisdom to understand this. That how do I get power? I have to do something for it. There are many people who just feel sorry for themselves because they don't have power, and they just blame themselves. But this understanding that if I am in a difficult situation, it's like we have this Bhagavatam verse 1837, which talks about how there is poison in the beginning, but there is nectar in the end. Yattadagre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam. This is sattva. On the other hand, Krishna says that there is tamas, yat agre chanubandhecha sukham mohan matmana nidra alasya pramado tat tamas mudarutam. So from beginning to end, it is just poison. But somehow, now why would anyone think of poison to be pleasure? It's Krishna says this is happiness. Krishna is talking about sukha, happiness in the three modes. And he says, yat agre chanubandhecha sukham mohanamatmana. It is just an illusion right from the beginning to the end. So is it like poison? Well, in reality, it is. But for that purpose, that person who's in illusion thinks it's pleasure. So, for example, somebody is very lazy, and that person just does nothing. And that person thinks that the more I can come up with excuses to avoid doing work, that is my success. So now, and that person may even pat themselves on the back. Oh, just see how clever I am. I came up with this excuse. This person wanted me to do this, and I didn't do it. But what is the person doing actually? Person may not, lethargy is there. And lethargy just means the person vegetating. Vegetating means just living like a vegetable and doing nothing in their life at all. So, what is the point of such a life? Unfortunately, many people, when they have some problems, when they have sufferings, they go in this direction. They feel sorry for themselves and just keep complaining. There is self-pity, complain, and all that. So now that is tamasic. And to actually do some austerity, the idea is that austerity means there is poison now, but there will be nectar later. So this is the austerity phase. So for example, if somebody is lazy, then they need to start doing some small things. One small thing, another small thing, third small thing. And gradually that person learns that, yeah, I can do some things. I can do something worthwhile. And that's how that person starts doing constructive things. So in one sense, Hiranyakashipu is doing austerity, which is good. And he's thinking by austerity, I'll gain power. So now this austerity to power, it applies in many fields. So for example, it's something as simple, which is common for some people today, say, going to gym. Going to gym and working, doing a workout is austerity, but that can improve physical strength. Similarly, going to university. That can give physical power. Going to university and studying, hopefully, one studies well, one can get intellectual power. Some person develops some social skills, then they might get some relational power. Now, learning anything new is an austerity. So that principle, that austerity means it's like poison initially, but it will be like nectar. Once you have learned it, it's so wonderful. That's good. But while austerity we would normally consider it to be good, the Gita talks about austerity also in sattva, rajas, and tamas. This it talks in chapter 17 in the Bhagavad Gita. So why is that? You might say, isn't the principle of austerity itself in goodness, that accepting poison so that one can get to nectar later? Isn't that something which only people in sattva can do? People in tamas won't. Well, yes and no. The idea is that some people may the action, so in terms of, you can say austerity as an action, we could say it is in sattva. But the key point is, what is the motivation? So working hard to gain power, understanding that principle requires some austerity. But once one starts doing that, why are they doing that? That is important. If they do, what is the motivation? So, if it is reformative means self-reformative, they're transforming themselves. And that's what makes it sattva. But it's destructive, destroying others. And that can be rajasic or even tamasic. So what's happening is that the motivation, okay, I want to gain power. Why? So that I can destroy the other person. That is tamasic. So Hiranyakashipu, what is he thinking? That now I want more and more power. And what will I do? I'll perform austerity. And he is actually using some philosophical knowledge, but in a distorted sense. He's saying, okay, everything is temporary. Krishna says, "A Brahma Bhuvanal Loka Punaravartin Arjuna." He also knows things are temporary, but he's thinking Brahma's abode will be, Brahma's position is powerful. Other positions are not powerful. He says, I don't want anything except power. Power that will last forever. And he's saying everything else is useless. So his purpose is what Krishna talks in the 18th chapter, Sarvarthan Viparitam. Means everything just the opposite. So opposite of the natural order. That is typical of the mentality of the Devata. Now Prabhupada would quote from Bengali retelling of the Ramayana about how Ravan wanted to create a bridge by which even the sinful could go to heaven, by the demoniac could go to heaven. So similarly, here he's trying to reverse the universal order. And he's thinking, I can do it by power. The power can help us to change certain things. But there is always a limitation. There's always, we will come to some inescapable limitation eventually. So the whole idea is that we should get power so that we can harmonize better with the natural order. Natural order means that the way things are done naturally. So for example, if somebody is unhealthy, now what can they do? They can do some austerity by which they can learn to have a healthier diet. And with a healthier diet, they harmonize the natural order of the body. That, okay, I will work according to my digestive system. I'll eat those foods, I'll not eat those foods. But if somebody thinks, I will reverse the natural order. Now, reverse the natural order means what? Okay, I'll eat any food that I want, but I'll try to find some pills by some magic cure I'll get. Maybe I'll not gain weight, I'll become healthy, I'll do some bariatric surgery. And so they're seeking outer power which will try to reverse the natural order. Now that is not going to work. For some time it may work, but beyond a particular time, it just stops working. So now Hiranyakashipu, if he wants immortality, everybody wants to be immortal. So harmonize better with the natural order means what? Realize your spirituality. Understand that we are parts of Krishna. When we love Krishna, then we will naturally realize that we will become immortal. We are souls, we are immortal, but as long as we identify with the body, we suffer from the mortality of the body. But his idea is make the body immortal. Now this is a terrible thing. Why is it terrible? Because the body cannot be made immortal. He tried in many ways, and later on we'll see that he fails. So his mentality is what? That I want power, and I'm ready to perform austerity for that. All that is good. But his motivation makes the whole thing tamasic. I want power so that I can reverse the natural order of things. Now this mentality, we'll see how it is present today also. That people today, I'll take two examples of this. And the point here is not to target any particular demographic, a particular group of people. It's just to understand how this mentality is prevalent. So people want power. So now we know that there is an environmental crisis in the world today. That the way humans have exploited the environment, that has created a lot of pollution, a lot of disruption, a lot of loss of biodiversity and things like that. And this needs to be solved. Now, the way to solve it is live more simply. If we just learn to live more simply, that means you don't need externals. Now we live in a particular society, so we will need certain basic level of, we need gadgets, we need vehicles, we may need to go via transportation, but we can try to live within that as simply as possible. Now, one aspect of it is simply live vegetarian. That itself is very friendly to the ecology. But what has happened is there is this climate change, which is that we humans have caused the climate change destructively. So because of that, there is a climate change agenda. And what is that? Somehow we have to decrease our carbon footprint on the earth. But there are certain gases which have been identified that these are the problem, and you decrease that. And every country has taken up targets for that. And they say, oh, we are going to do this. Now we may say, yeah, well, isn't that good? But if we consider Ireland, to meet their climate goals, they have decided that they are going to slaughter 150,000 cows. Now, why is that? And it's what is shocking about this is that, okay, they want to slaughter cows, that's horrible, but for meat, for beef, people slaughter cows. But this is completely different. Now, generally, when the cow goes beyond the milking age, that's when they slaughter. But their reasoning is that cows, when they bark, they give methane. And that methane and all the gases associated like that, they pollute the environment. And they want to decrease how much Ireland is causing causing a climate to be a problem, climate change to be a problem. And that's why, what is their plan? These are normal, healthy milking cows, and they're going to slaughter all of them. Why? To meet the climate goals. Now, cows have been existing throughout history. And there is a big difference between pollutants coming from natural sources and pollutants coming from human sources. What is the difference? The difference is that, see, we may consider we humans, we give out carbon dioxide, that's pollutant. But there is a system in nature by which the carbon dioxide from us goes to the plants. And the plants use it and it's recycled. So nature has its own systems of balance. But rather than targeting other sources, rather than say trying to maybe decrease automobile usage or do any other things, so this is for them a big visible way of saying that, oh, we are doing so much. Now, even the farmers, they are protesting that, these are good cows. Why are you killing them? And you want to need milk. And they said, okay, we'll get milk from South America. Now, to get milk from South America, well, aren't the cows they're going to do the same thing? Oh, that is their carbon footprint. That is their cost on the environment and not ours. What about the ships that are going to bring that milk? They are going to need fuel. What about the emissions from there? No, there's no question at all. This is just one thing is taken. Oh, we will meet our climate goals. So environmental concern is good, but the climate change agenda means what? Now they're saying, why I give the specific example is that the government is selling this as an austerity measure. They're saying, oh, for the sake of climate, we all have to do this austerity. So the use of the word austerity is almost perverse over here. It's completely irrational, even from a material perspective, even from the perspective of protecting the environment, it is irrational. And yet they're saying, oh, we should do it. So it is going to be an economic cost, but economic cost for what purpose? It's totally destructive. So here the example, this is the Hiranyakashipu mentality, where there is a problem. So the problem for Hiranyakashipu is that he has less power. But the solution would be to purify oneself, to connect with God. When we connect with God, we get access to supreme power. But instead of doing that, a person, he goes to a solution which is going to cause so much devastation in the universe. So demoniac determination is that a person is very strong-willed. That person is not only strong-willed, that person is actually misdirected. So now if you can consider, everyone has a mind and everyone has an intelligence. Now we could say this mind can be strong, the intelligence can be strong, the mind can be strong. The intelligence can be weak and the mind can be weak. So what do we mean by weak mind? That means that the desires are weak. And then intelligence is, the logic is weak, the reasoning is weak. The mind is associated with desires, the intelligence is associated with logic and reasoning. Now, if we consider the person has weak desires and weak logic, that person is basically ineffective. That person is not going to do anything at all. Nothing good, nothing bad. They can't think very clearly and they don't have any desires. Like I said earlier, that person just maybe lie in bed, just trying to escape their way through life, not doing anything at all. They are wasting their lives, but generally such people, they don't do much harm. Now, the mind is strong and the intelligence is strong. They are the most effective constructively. Now we may say, should the mind be strong? Well, yes. Krishna says we have to make our mind our friend. And if we want a friend, we want a strong friend. We don't want a weak friend. A weak friend is not of much use for us. So that means, Prabhupada, he had strong desire. He had a desire to serve Krishna, to share Krishna's message. And of course, his intelligence was strong. That means he analyzed the world. Okay, Indians are not taking up to bhakti. Why? Because they're infatuated by the West. So let us go to the West. Let us inspire the people in the West and they will come back here. And get them, they will inspire Indians. So we want to weaken the mind's negative conditionings. We want to purify the mind. But the purified mind is strong in the sense that it has strong spiritual desires. It has strong desires to serve, to contribute. And even if, say, we put aside even if we put aside spiritually, suppose somebody has good intelligence. Oh, this particular disease is here, and if people can shift from this diet to this diet, it's really better. They have strong intelligence for that purpose. They have reasoned it and they said, okay, vegan diet is good. Let's shift to vegan vegetarian diet. Suppose a doctor has that understanding. So many of the heart disease and others can be avoided by a shift to vegan vegetarian diet. But then they need to have the desire to propagate it to others. Then they will benefit. So this is the best situation. Now, if the mind is weak and the intelligence is strong, what that means is that person has a lot of ideas, but their desire to do something is not very strong. Then what happens by that is that they are under effective. Because nothing in this world is easy. We have to work hard. See, only when a desire is strong, then the person pushes through the poison to the nectar. The desire is weak, and okay, it's too difficult, forget it. That's why we consider 9:13 and 14 the Bhagavad Gita. 9:14 specifically, Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto ma yatantasya dudavataha. So, if we consider, Krishna is talking about the characteristics of his pure devotees. He says that if we consider 9:13, he's talking about their buddhi, their intelligence. They are very clear that Ananya, that Krishna is the only purpose of Mahatmanastupam Pasa Daivim Prakritimashita. Their intelligence is very strong. Their buddhi is fixed in Krishna. Krishna is the Gyantva Bhutadi Maubim. But 9:14 is about the mana. Yatantasya Dudavrataha. Their desire is strong. Basically, a strong desire is essentially determination. When we have strong desire, then even if there are obstacles, we push against it and keep moving forwards. So now, pure devotees do have strong mind and a strong intelligence. And they're under effective. Okay, some idea comes up, it's not working, people are not interested, just forget it. Now, but the most dangerous are these people. People who have strong mind and weak intelligence. Now, weak intelligence means not that they lack intelligence. They may have intelligence, but their intelligence is taken over by their mind's desires. So instead of the intelligence guiding the mind's desires, it is the mind that is misguiding the intelligence reasoning. And such people use false logic to justify what they want to do. That means what such people say is that I want to do something which is actually bad, but then I'll use my intelligence. And now the logic can be countered and refuted, but they just neglect the refutation. Just continue doing what they want to do with great determination. Now this is because the mind's desires are strong, there's determination. But because the intelligence is weak, they let their intelligence be misled by their mind. Such people can do terrible things. So, Hiranyakashipu falls in this category. So, this is actually quite a dangerous category. I shall give another example, and it's quite a distasteful example. Abortion is one of the sad, in fact, horrifying realities of life today. So many millions of babies get aborted. Now, it's understandable sometimes. Some people are in situations where they just can't take care of a baby. They could give it for adoption, but they decide to abort. Now, even 10 years ago, the American president at that time said that he wanted abortions to be safe, legal, and rare. That, okay, we do it, but we do it very rarely. But when it is required, it should be done safely, and that's why we make it legal. But now, on Facebook and other places, there is this whole meme called "Shout Your Abortion Story." So just like we have, we share our story of how I came to Krishna consciousness. So people are encouraged to share, how you did abortion. Now, is that something to be proud of? And this is so perverse that now the idea being propagated is that pregnancy is actually biological slavery. That pregnancy, that yes, when man and woman have sex, Prabhupada will say woman gets pregnant and then she has to take the birth. Why is nature unfair like that? Why do when women have sex, why do they have to become pregnant? They shouldn't become pregnant. So their idea is abortion is biological slavery and pregnancy is biological slavery and abortion is technological freedom. So killing is considered a freedom. This is horrible. And this is so perverse that nowadays some of you may be aware there are this whole genre of trans people. Trans people is basically people, somebody is a man who becomes a woman, they use hormones or they use other things by which they try to change the gender. There's LGBTQ law. So there was now sometimes when people do this surgery, a man decides to become a woman. Then sometimes some surgery is done and their organs are changed. But those organs hardly ever function properly. Now there was one trans person, he said that I wish, I long, so that this is a man who became a woman, he said, I long to have a uterus so that I can have a baby, so that I can abort it. Now, such a perverse logic. And he is considered to be a champion of abortion. Oh, what a desire you have. It's a devilish desire. So, Hiranyakashipu's mentality, the fundamental point of the cultural ethos at that time, today's ethos is very different. He's thinking, oh, I'll go and take over the position of Brahma and I'll do this. He's within his universe, vision of the universe, he's thinking of disrupting the natural order. Today, people may not believe in all those things, but that same mentality is there today also. The specifics are too horrifying and even disgusting, when I use that word. But the principle is the same, that if we try to rail against the natural order of things, why is it like this? We end up doing more and more worse things to try to gain power, but ultimately cannot change the natural order. Things are what they are. So now, because of this whole emphasis on abortion and everything, the world is facing what is called a depopulation bomb. Till now, we have been hearing about population explosion, but now, soon, if people don't reproduce, there'll be severe shortage of human beings. Japan is probably facing one of the most serious depopulation issues. Government is now saying that we'll pay parents so that they can have children. And they're doing that in many ways. The Western countries, if there had been no immigrants, the population would already have gone down very severely. But we cannot disrupt the natural order. So now that mentality is still there. So now we come to the last part. I could go on about how this mentality of Hiranyakashipu is still there, about disrupting the natural order, but let's focus on something more uplifting. What is the cure for this? So now we see from Hiranyakashipu's life, Hiranyakashipu was not cured. So does that mean that the mentality itself is not curable? Well, yes and no. Generally, whenever we talk about the demoniac mentality, so there is a minority that is downright demonic. They cannot be cured. They have to be only curbed. Curb means they have to be stopped. They have to be forced. Law has to be used, and sometimes like what Narasimha Dev ultimately did was, for Hiranyakashipu there was capital punishment. He had to be killed. So there is a small minority which drives everyone. They're downright demoniac, and there's a followers. They are the large number. They are the majority. And we could say they are under demoniac influences. They're not themselves demoniac. Somehow this is the propaganda that they have heard. And they believe this is right. This is the way to live. This is the way to celebrate freedom. And therefore, they fall under this demoniac. They start adopting the demoniac ways. So generally, whenever we interact with such people, it's best to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they are under demoniac influence, that they're not demoniac. that they are not actually actively instigators. Even if sometimes the words they speak may be demonic. Now, Prabhupada had that vision. Now, most people, if you consider Srila Prabhupada's first followers, they're the hippies. Now, most people from India, if they even want to speak of spiritual leaders, even ordinary people, they would have rejected the hippies. These people, they can never be spiritual. So, but Prabhupada saw that they were simply misled. That, yes, that their behavior was demoniac, that their practices were terrible, that it was a regulative principle for them to break all regulative principles. But actually speaking, although their behavior was terrible, many of them were simply misled. For example, they were misled into believing that if you want to become spiritual, take drugs. Drugs will make you spiritual. Prabhupada saw beyond their actions. Now, what makes a person motivated? So this is the opposite way. Now, I said that there's action and then there is motivation. So, action and motivation. So for Hiranyakashipu, if you consider, so actually wisdom, compassion requires us to see beyond the action to the motivation. So in the case of Hiranyakashipu, you could say his action was austerity, which we might consider to be good. But the motivation was destruction. Disruption and destruction of the natural order, which was not just bad, which was terrible. So this was for Hiranyakashipu. Now, so we can't get carried away and think, oh, he was doing austerity, that is a good thing. Now, in the case of, if we consider the hippies, their actions were often demoniac, in the sense that there was unrestricted indulgence. This was the time of free sex and free drugs and all those things. It was quite dark. Unrestricted in terms of action, it was unrestricted indulgence. But in terms of motivation, it was a spiritual search. They're taking drugs, but they're thinking that they will go spiritually by that. So, Prabhupada saw, the Prabhupada's wisdom was to see the motivation. And thus, although their actions were demoniac, they were not actually demoniac. They were simply under demoniac influence. By Prabhupada's mercy, they were brought out of the demoniac influence. So essentially, how did Prabhupada do that? That's a part of it. So there is higher wisdom or insight, and then there is higher taste. So if these two come together, then that's what actually rescues people. So higher wisdom is for the buddhi, that help people see from a different perspective. Oh, this is not right. Thinking like this, this is not. Prabhupada said, if LSD can help you, if drugs can help you to see God, then drugs become like the controller of God. That means drugs become the tool by which you can call God on demand. Well, that is not right. God is supreme. The Prabhupada was simple logic. Prabhupada was penetrating in his intellectual presentation of the worldview of the Bhagavad Gita. And a taste is for the man, for the mind. So, okay, it's one thing for the intelligence to understand. Okay, things are like this. Things are like that. But that's not enough, because the desires might still be there. So that was Prabhupada's expertise, that Prabhupada created services by which people could be engaged and transformed. So he gave them, held them, to keep them on the streets. Now the hippies like to do wild things, and dancing on the street was probably too wild even in their imagination. You dance on the street, the cops will come and arrest you. But here, Prabhupada Rath Yatra got them to dance on streets and the cops were escorting them. So, Prabhupada made bhakti, you could say in contemporary language, cool. Prabhupada made bhakti adventurous, exciting. And by that, he transformed. So, that was Prabhupada's genius. Now, we may not be able to reach people who are at that level, but still the principle applies even to us, that we need to see with intelligence, see beyond the superficials. When we go deeper and see, that is when we can know whom to help and whom to leave at a distance. So those who are outright demoniac, those are propagators of demonic ideas, they are very difficult to change. But those who are under that, those ideas, they can definitely be changed. And that is the transformative power of bhakti. So I'll summarize. He started by understanding Hiranyakashipu's mentality. How in that mentality, he wants power. For gaining power, he's doing austerities, which we might think is sattva, that tadagre vishaya pariname amritopam. So he's going through poison to get to nectar. So that is sattva. But before we can appreciate his austerity, we need to understand why he's doing the austerity, the motivation. And the motivation is, in his case, disrupt and destroy the natural order of things. And that motivation is terribly destructive. And that's what makes his actions tamasic. So because the motivation is tamasic, tamas, the entire project becomes dark tamas. Then I discussed how that mentality is present today. And I discussed how the key part of that mentality is, we discussed these 4 quadrants, that the mind and the intelligence. The other way, the intelligence can be strong or weak, and the mind can be strong or weak. And I discussed that this is the strong side. Those who have strong mind and strong intelligence are the best. The strong mind and weak intelligence are the worst. So Hiranyakashipu falls in this category, and I took 2 examples of, cow slaughter in Ireland for climate change agenda. And then I talked about abortion being celebrated as technological freedom from biological slavery. And somebody want to do surgery so that they can have a child, so that they can abort it. This is disrupting the natural order. Now we may do it through science, but that is the same idea. And that is dangerous, is deadly. And what is the cure for this? Well, there is a minority who will never be cured. But beyond that, these just need to be curbed. But these, the majority that is there is the buddhi and the manas. For the buddhi, if we can give them higher insight, higher wisdom, param drishtva, that word, it actually, drishti is vision. From that vision, actual taste also comes. So if you get that, then they can be transformed. And how Prabhupada transformed the hippies is an example of this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Yes,
Hare
Radha
Krishna,
Jyoti
Prabhuji, thank you so much. Yeah, Radha Jyoti Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranam to you. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your session. We could correlate and we could understand how the society is leading with the mentality that you have explained. I'm very grateful to you. My question to you is, Prabhuji, you explained about the Ireland and the cow slaughter. So could you please give some logic? What was that? Because there was one scientific research, I don't know if you know about that. They made one statement: if there are number of bees or number of butterflies goes down on the count, global count, then the global warming will be very high. So they made many farms like the honeybees and the butterfly, the number of butterfly to increase all over the globe. So that I could understand, but this is no way correlated. So could you please explain on this?
What the cows killing? What is not correlated?
What is the logic behind slaughtering the cows in the Ireland?
No, basically, cows are considered within their own logic. In Google, there's a lot of information about this. They consider cows to be the most polluting animal in the entire universe, in the entire
I
world.
read.
And their logic is that now, of course, there are many ways. They say that the cows emit methane. Now, there is some research done that generally it is cows that are grain fed rather than grass fed that emit that. And there is other research also about how that can also be absorbed in nature. But the whole point is that it's not just one of the things. There are many things being done like this. And the logic here is that somehow our goal has been set. Okay, we have to decrease the biological footprint. This is what we want to do. This is what we will do. That's all there is to it. There's nothing further beyond that.
So it's
So
completely illogical, Prabhuji. Do you agree on this?
this is?
It's completely illogical to
Of
make
course,
such.
not just illogical. It is horrible. It is demoniac.
Yes. And Prabhuji, also you mentioned about the determination in that quadrant. Could you explain that part also once again? What is the
Determination is
determination? The
See,
strong
anywhere
mind.
that strong desire is there, that means there's determination. So, strong desire is the correlation of determination. What is determination? Basically, there are obstacles, and in spite of obstacles, the person moves on. Now, why does the person move on? Because the desire is strong. So now the question is, what is the desire for? And on what basis have you decided that this is what is desirable? So if you consider an addict, the addict has very weak determination. But you could take it the other way and say that addict has very strong determination. That even if there are financial trouble, there is health trouble, there is relational trouble, still say, I'm going to drink alcohol, no matter what happens. It is determination in the mode of ignorance. One holds on to a thing even when there are obstacles and troubles.
So the determination part has nothing to do with the intelligence.
No, the key is that determination can be for good or determination can be for bad. Duryodhana's determination to hold on to the kingdom, that is obstinacy. Right? So if you read 1833 to 35, the Bhagavad Gita, there's determination in goodness, passion, and ignorance. And determination in goodness is definitely good. Determination bad is determination in ignorance is terrible. So that's the difference. So is
Yes,
intelligence there, determination? Well, intelligence, everybody has intelligence. Now, but the intelligence can be taken over by the mind and used in service of the mind. So that means the mind's desire comes up. Ideally, our desire should be evaluated by the intelligence. This is a good desire. This is going to lead to some good for me. Then, after that, the mind and intelligence can work together. See, Krishna doesn't say, offer your intelligence to me. Krishna says, Mai arpita mano buddhi. That means you offer intelligence reasoning to me. By your intelligence reasoning, you understand me to be the ultimate reality. But even by your mind's desiring, make me the supreme desirable object. So both are there. So mind and intelligence both in a healthy direction is good. But if the mind is going in an unhealthy direction, the intelligence goes along with it. That is unhealthy. So when there's determination in the mode of ignorance, one is desiring something very strongly, and when obstacles come up, that person comes up with ways to overcome the obstacles. And that's why they're using their intelligence. But that intelligence is for a destructive purpose. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. So driving forces are desires, right? The main driving force.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Eternally grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Shivakumar Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Prams, Prabhu. And thank you for the class today, Prabhu, correlating the Vedic times to the current trend. Prabhu, one question on austerity, Prabhu. Just from my experience also, the bhakti practice, the sadhana in Krishna consciousness is something that I consider as austerity, and that leads to the purification of self. And I see that the amount of self-control that I had before KC versus after KC or during the practice seems to be really good. But at the same time, I see that the external situation seems to be going out of control. In the sense that not that I want the control of the external situation, but it's just that it's not conducive to kind of carry on with the life, especially with bhakti. So I just wanted to understand, Prabhu, does the austerity, if austerity has to result in better self-control or purification of self, has to be necessarily confronted with the loss of control, external control, is something that I wanted to hear from you, Prabhu.
Oh, it's a good question, Prabhu. So while austerity leads to greater inner control, but does that also mean loss of outer control?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. See, if you look at Srila Prabhupada's life, Prabhupada had, when he was in India, he had greater outer control in the sense that he was living in a culture where sadhus were respected, and he had a decent place to stay in Vrindavan. If he would come to Delhi, go to Mumbai, there is a culture where sadhus would be respected. Even big people would open their doors to host him. They might not offer, they might not want to become his followers, but respect was there. And when Prabhupada came to America, Prabhupada said that I didn't know whether to turn left or right. So in one sense, he lost control over the external situation. He did a lot of austerity, sustaining the seasickness and heart attacks. Out on the seas of journey, he finally came. That was not easy. When he finally came there, the point is twofold over here. The point is that there was a loss of external situation for some time, even after the performance of austerity. But then eventually he had many followers, and then he got far more control over the outer situation. But still, that does not mean there was complete control. There was also still, even among his followers, some fell away, some went against his will. And things always happen sometimes. So if we are finding that the control over external situations is decreasing, we just understand this is a phase of negative karma that we are going through. And that phase is not going to last forever. Nothing in this world lasts forever. So it will in due course change.
Okay.
It's not necessary that outer control has to go down. But in this world, it is unpredictable. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. So rather than thinking that because of our bhakti austerities, we have lost control over the outer situation, it's not like that. We can think that if I didn't have the capacity to perform, to practice bhakti and have greater capacity for austerity, then this change of outer situation would have caused far greater trouble for me. It would have been much more difficult to bear it. So that's a more positive way of looking at things.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Rati Manchari Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for the class, Prabhuji. Thank you for making the mind and intelligence quadrant very clear and very explicitly explained. Prabhuji, I just had a question that I was reading on Lord Chaitanya appearing once in the day of Brahma in a Kali Yuga, and following Lord Krishna's appearance from Golok Vrindavan. And there in that video you mentioned that he does not appear in every Kali Yuga. Instead, they come from Vaikuntha, and that is Gaur Narayan. Prabhuji, I was just looking for the source, where to source this, because I was looking at Laghu Bhagavatamrit by Gopi Parananda Prabhu and Kushakrita Das Prabhu. I could not trace that, what you mentioned about Gaur Narayan.
Let me try to find out. Pankaj told this to me when I last met him before the pandemic. And I also asked him for a reference. He didn't give it to me, but let me try to find out.
Okay,
But,
okay, Prabhuji.
it is basically the point is that just as Krishna does not appear every time,
Yes, Prabhuji.
but then there is some Yuga avatar who appears.
Yes, that you said in the video. Yes, Prabhuji.
Similarly, Mahaprabhu doesn't appear, but in Kali Yuga there is always a Yuga avatar who appears.
Hmm.
And Kalki is not a Yuga avatar.
Yes, Prabhuji.
He comes from the
Yes, Prabhuji. So how do I reach out to you, Prabhuji, for the reference? Should I speak to Mataji on the group?
I'll give it to Shamavali Mataji once I find it.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Namaste.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Shri Isha Upanishad Mataji, please go.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Hari Bol. My question is that you spoke about the seed, Hiranyakasipu's desire, his desire to rule and to control. And what was the seed? Why did the desire develop? I seem to be missing that. You know, he was already very, very powerful. So what made him want to become more powerful? What was the intention to rule? You know.
So, two things. Now, if you look at this narrative, how it flows, the seventh canto is connected with the earlier canto, where Hiranyaksha is killed by Varahadev. And now Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha are brothers. And Hiranyakashipu feels understandably angry when his brother is killed. But instead of looking at whether his brother had done anything wrong because of which he was killed, he just puts the whole blame on Varahadev. And he says, my brother was killed not because he did wrong, but because he was not strong enough. And therefore, I need to be strong enough. And therefore, I will perform austerity. We'll see when he talks also says that the soul is eternal. Therefore, even if I die while performing severe austerity, it doesn't matter. The soul will be reborn, I'll continue austerity in the next life. So that desire has become a desire for revenge, the desire for vengeance becomes so deep rooted within him. I have to get power at all costs. So essentially, everybody faces some grievance, some adversity, some pain in their lives. But the key is how do they respond to that pain. So here, he decided by seeking power, but power in a destructive way.
Jai. Just Hari Bol Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Gail Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. My question is a follow-up to your answer to that question just a little while ago about, having developed more internal control, so self-control, whereas the outside circumstances seem to be going more out of control. And in your answer, you said that, sometimes it's phases of karma that we are dealing with, right? So when we're talking about devotees who have pure faith, my understanding is that it's not actually karma that we are dealing with. It's, Krishna is bringing to us whatever experiences that we are dealing with in order to bring us closer to him. So did you say karma in that sense, that Krishna is bringing our karma to us? Because, Krishna is personally intervening in the lives of his pure devotees. Pure devotees meaning those who have pure faith, faith in pure devotional service. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Now, exactly how karma works out in bhakti is extremely difficult to figure out. Yes, we have scriptural statements about how bhakti is sukhada, klesha, that karma goes away. At the same time, we have the reality that devotees do suffer. Sometimes devotees suffer terribly. And when they suffer terribly, at that time, it's very difficult. At least in some sufferings, at least at that time, it's very difficult to figure out how this suffering is for good, how this suffering is actually bringing them closer. So, whatever is the anukul mentality for our bhakti, that is what we should take. So, we see even Brahmaji's prayer says, Tattenu kampam susumikshyaman, vunjaneva atmakrutam vipakam. He says, this is by my own deeds, because of my own karma that I'm suffering. But my dear Lord, I turn to you for obeisances to you. And this is the way I'll stay connected with you and I'll attain you. So my understanding is that there are three different ways of looking at it. One is when a devotee is suffering, it is Krishna's plan. Yes, that is true. It is Krishna's personally handling. Second is that I'm talking here about the source of the suffering. It's coming from Krishna. No. Another is that, okay, that's the nature of the material world, that everybody has to suffer. Third is that it is karma. Now, there could be others, but these are three broad things. If you see in the first canto, in the discussion between Parikshit and the bull, when Parikshit asks the bull, what is the cause of suffering? The bull says it's very difficult to determine. And the bull is dharma personified. Why would he say that it's so difficult to determine? Because it is difficult to determine. So, what is the way of looking at things that can help us stay closer to Krishna, that can help us come closer to Krishna? That is what each one of us is to find out. Now, is it that thinking that Krishna is the cause of this suffering that is going to bring us closer to Krishna? Maybe sometimes. But sometimes thinking that Krishna is the cause of suffering is actually it can make Krishna consciousness very difficult. So, we in terms of the source of the suffering or the cause of suffering, it can be many. In terms of the purpose of the suffering, where it is meant to take us, it is to Krishna. So how do we see the cause in such a way that it can take us towards Krishna? That is up to us. Now, when Duryodhana was spoken harsh words by Vidura, Vidura saw it as Krishna making an arrangement to Duryodhana to detach, and took it as favorable. That it is actually Krishna's arranging that. But now when Dushasana was trying to disrobe Draupadi, when Duryodhana was goading him on, did Draupadi see that actually it is Krishna doing this to me? No. Whatever the cause, this Dushasana is a terrible person, is doing it, I have to take shelter. Now, when something like that was happening to Draupadi, for her to think that Krishna is doing this to me, or Krishna is the cause of this, it's very difficult to even think like that and to maintain devotion like that. So, therefore, rather than making a categorical statement about the exact cause of suffering, we focus on the principle that all suffering is meant to take us toward Krishna. And whatever cause we can attribute to the suffering, we attribute and move forwards. So in general, in normal devotion, in our normal day-to-day lives, we think that we have transcended all karma is a bit premature, it is unrealistic, and it will only raise more questions than answers.
No, but Prabhu, it's difficult to answer whether we have faith in pure devotional service. That I'm not talking about becoming pure devotee. I'm talking about our faith, and that Krishna deals with us according to that faith. We could be, tortured by our swabhava and our anarthas, but that doesn't mean that our faith isn't pure, right? So what's the problem there?
Yeah, I think you need to explain what is the problem. It's what is it that you're finding in my answer as objectionable?
Yeah, that
Then I can.
that you're saying that it's difficult to understand, whether we have transcended our karma. When I thought it was just as simple as determining whether we have faith in pure devotional service or not. If we have faith in pure devotional service, why isn't it simple to say that we have transcended our karma? Because if that is our faith, then Krishna is dealing with us directly. We're not under the jurisdiction of the autopilot of karma.
Yeah, the defining principle in bhakti, in my understanding, is anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjana. At an operational level, accept what is favorable and avoid what is unfavorable. So, when devotees are going through distress, there can be horrible distresses in this world. Somebody loses their young child, somebody is suffering from domestic violence or physical violations, things like that. At that time, to say that okay, I've transited my karma and Krishna is personally arranging for this to happen to me. So it's very difficult to see like that and maintain one's devotional disposition. It's best at such times see that this is whatever the cause, I am in Krishna's shelter. So having faith in pure devotional service means knowing that if I stay connected with Krishna, ultimately I will attain Krishna. And it's my responsibility to stay connected with Krishna.
I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that last line?
No, having faith in pure devotional service means that if I stay connected with Krishna, I will attain Krishna. Exactly how it will happen or how exactly I can stay connected with Krishna, that depends. So now there are many specific details within bhakti, and ultimately it's about a relationship with Krishna. So how we can maintain that relationship in a favorable way is very difficult to figure out. So each devotee needs to be, I think we shouldn't guilt devotees into saying that if you don't accept this, you don't have faith. It's horrible to guilt people like that. What we should be doing is, okay, small terrible things happen. And whether it is karma or it is not karma, is ultimately how does it matter? What matters is that we go closer to Krishna. If thinking that it is karma helps us go closer to Krishna, great. If thinking that it is Krishna helps us go closer to Krishna, that's great. Ultimately, each devotee has to find a way in which they can draw their heart toward Krishna. So we cannot mandate this is the way that everybody has to. Only one who has faith in this principle alone, that person will be able to go toward Krishna. This world suffering is, who knows what is the cause of suffering. So that's why I said the point is that we want to draw our heart toward Krishna. If we have faith, well, there are so many different elements of bhakti. And a person may have faith that remembrance of Krishna raises me above distress. But does that person mean that the person will have that faith that, okay, that Krishna frees me from karma? Then what is the cause of this suffering? In some cases, when Sita was being abducted, did Sita see that actually Ram has come to me in the form of Ravana to take me away from Ram? It's a weird kind of consciousness. So my point is that some things each devotee has to navigate. How best can I see the situation in a Krishna conscious way? So this suffering has come. How do I make sense of this suffering? Sometimes seeing it as coming from Krishna can help us make sense of something. Sometimes seeing it as just coming from this world's arrangement can make us see suffering. So since I was talking about abortion, I was on a trip of Europe. One Mataji, a couple came to meet me. And this Mataji, apparently she was trying to have, they were trying to have children, and she had multiple miscarriages. And she heard in some devotee's class that he said that if you ever abort a child, Krishna will never give you a child. And she was thinking that he do that. Is it because of that I'm having all the... So now before she had come to Bhakti, she had an abortion. So she said, is it that? Is that Krishna is punishing me like this? At that time I didn't know anything. I was in a helpless situation. And that was the only thing that everybody told me I should do. And if Krishna is going to punish me, how long is he going to punish me? Now, in Nyaya is the Vedic system of logic. We need to look at, we need to start with the Drushta cause before we go toward the Adrushta cause. So, the Drushta cause means what? What is the immediate visible cause? Then look at invisible causes of things. So, I talked with her husband and he said, yeah, actually, then there was some biological medical issue also because of which she was prone to have miscarriages, and she was trying to take treatment. So I told her that, look at this as the cause. You don't have to see that Krishna is punishing us. When the devotees in London were doing I told this example to her also at that time. When the devotees in London were doing Rath Yatra, and at that time, they tried to do a Rath bigger than the Rath that was in San Francisco, which is the first place of Rath Yatra had happened. But they didn't make the wheels proportionately bigger. And the Rath went out and it was a big PR event. And then suddenly after the Rath collapsed. The devotees were devastated with the PR nightmare. And the devotees wrote to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, did the Rath collapse because of our poor devotion? Prabhupada replied, the Rath collapsed because of your poor engineering. So Prabhupada did not go to the Adrushta cause, the invisible cause. Oh, Krishna is causing it. No, look at, if there is some visible explanation, focus on the visible explanation. So, think looking at things in a way that is favorable for our devotion is very important. If somebody is having a miscarriage and you tell them, Krishna is causing this miscarriage, it's unbearable for that person. That there is multiple levels of causation in the world, and there are ways in which we should be seeing Krishna everywhere, and there are ways in which we should not be attributing things to Krishna. There's another devotee in another country that this devotee was a big distributor, Mataji was a big distributor, and then she got married, she had a child, and then naturally, because she was pregnant, she was not going so much for distribution, other things, and then she had a miscarriage. And the devotee was guiding her, senior Mataji. She said, we should be able to see everything in the Krishna consciousness. So, says, what do you mean? Says, this infant, this child, was impeding your service of good distribution. So Krishna removed the impediment. Horrible way of looking at things. So we need to see Krishna in certain situations, and there is a need to not bring Krishna into certain situations. So I'm sorry if these examples have been disturbing, but these are from real life. And sometimes Krishna consciousness can become the enemy of Krishna consciousness. That means bringing Krishna into certain situations can actually overall take the person away from Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhu, for that food for thought.
Yeah, I don't claim to have any clear answer to the question of karma. And I said that certainly there are times when we should see Krishna. So suppose we have Bhakti Maharaj, when he got cancer, he saw that it's a Krishna's arrangement. And that's fine. But there are certain situations, where it is easier to see Krishna as a source of what is happening to us. Others, it is difficult and it may even be undesirable.
Yeah, I think there's just I understand your point that we should see things in a way that is as encouraging for our Krishna consciousness as possible. I'm just trying to balance that with like neglecting what is actually truth also, you know? Like, I don't want to.
That's why I started with the verse of Dharma, that it's very difficult to know what is the truth. And there are whole philosophy, Achintya Veda Ved. Achintya is inconceivable. That means it's basically comfort or even celebration of uncertainty. Comfort with uncertainty and celebration of uncertainty. That humility means to accept that there are certain things that we may never know. So we could see devotion. One trajectory is devotion means faith, and faith means certainty. That's one pathway. But devotion also means humility, and humility means acceptance of uncertainty. So we could take strong devotion in both directions. Somebody has strong devotion, that means they have strong faith. Strong faith means they are certain. That's one pathway of looking at strong devotion. Another pathway of looking at strong devotion is that a person has deep humility. Deep humility means the person is comfortable with uncertainty. And this can also be as much seen as a sign of strong devotion. The capacity to live with knowing that I can't know certain answers. My concern about this trajectory, that faith, devotion means faith means certainty. My concern is that it can, at one level, make us very insensitive, or it can even make us fanatical. So that is not at all good.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, and I also just want to, not be in a position of not taking responsibility for whatever my present situation is, So that's another complication. But anyway, thank you, Prabhu, so much for your thorough answer.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, do you have time, Prabhuji? In chat, there are 1 or 2 questions. Will you be able to?
Maybe, yes, we can take for 10 more minutes.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, okay. There was some question also. There was a question.
Then all the questions we can stop then. I'll be there soon.
Here it is. Here one Prabhuji, Manmohan Prabhuji is asking. Krishna mentions this material world as Kalyam Ashashvatam in Bhagavad Gita. How is that a soul in its journey to eternal abode is reborn in this material world of continuous sufferings and not any other realm such as other Devaloka and continue its journey onwards from there? Manmohan Prabhuji has asked, Prabhuji, are you able to read it?
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danvat Pranam Prabhu. I just typed that question, and my question is this: in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Shri Krishna mentions this whole world as a.
Let me paraphrase the question. The question is that this material world is a place of suffering, so dukkhalaya. So why is the soul in its journey born only in the material world and not in the Devaloka or other places? Well, Krishna says that even the Devaloka is dukkhalaya. He says this entire universe is dukkhalaya. It's not only the earthly planet that's dukkhalaya. So even when the soul is born in heaven, see, the nature of the world is that the greater the comfort, the greater the pleasure, the greater is the anxiety over the loss of pleasure. So yes, heavens are a place of huge enjoyment. But then there is the fear of attack of demons. And then that fear is also great. If somebody, so what happens if an ordinary player gets injured, it's bad. But if a celebrity cricketer, if a top cricketer gets injured, that's even more painful for them. In the sense that the physical pain is the same, but the social, cultural, all that pain. Oh, it's much, much more. So Dukhalaya applies to the entire material existence, not just to Matyaloka. Even Svargaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, all the higher planets also are Dukhalaya. So distress is present everywhere. Distress is unavoidable. Now, is the distress the only thing that is experienced in heaven? Certainly not. There is some pleasure also. Maybe there's more pleasure in earth, but still there is distress also. So when, even on the earth, when we say this world is Dukhalaya, that does not mean distress is constantly present in every individual's life to the same degree. Even in this material world, we have some happy moments, some pleasurable moments. Dukhalaya basically means that distress will always be a part of our experience in this world. Like if somebody goes to Himalayas, then they are going to experience cold. But is cold the only thing they're going to experience? Well, there's the beauty of the Himalaya that is there. There is if somebody is going to a spiritual pilgrimage, there is the site of Badrikashram, Badrinath and Badrikashram. That's special. So, but the point is, if they are constantly complaining it's cold, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold, it is useless because it's going to be cold. You can try to deal with it, minimize it, wear warm clothes, but you cannot avoid cold. So the point of when Krishna says this word Dukhalaya is that don't make avoiding dukkha the primary basis of deciding what you are going to do or not. Because whatever we do, dukkha is going to come upon us. Therefore, accept that some dukkha will come and decide based on what will raise our consciousness upward toward Krishna. Just as if somebody is in the Himalayas, cold is going to come. But then if somebody thinks, oh, I'm going to the Himalayas and my primary purpose is to avoid cold. Well, then you are in the wrong place if you're in the Himalayas. The point is, if you are in the Himalayas, then focus more on trying to, why are you there in the Himalayas? Maybe we're there to pilgrimage, and focus on the pilgrimage. So Krishna, in the context of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you're thinking fighting is painful, not fighting is also painful. What should I do? Krishna says, don't decide based on what is least painful. Decide based on what is most purposeful. So you are my part and I have a plan for you. So participate in my plan. Even if there is some dukkha in that, that is the way you will go beyond distress. So essentially, Dukhalaya is not meant to say that this is dukhi and just stay dukhi. The point of Dukhalaya is that don't make decisions solely based on which will cause me the least distress. They decide based on what will enable me to do the best service. And then that's what will raise us above distress ultimately. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
So,
Hare
thank you very
Krishna.
much.
Nice explanation, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving such a wonderful class and a nice question and answer session also, Prabhuji. Every message means like every answers were very, very nice, very what to say, instructive. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. And very soon, I think we will be seeing you here in UAE. Welcome to UAE, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you again for giving us your valuable time and association. We want your association in future also, Prabhuji. Devotees, let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji. Vancha
Vansha kalpatrubhasya
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai.